recording this on a Saturday instead of Friday, like usual. Hello, everyone. Britton here, also known as Some Okie Dude, and today I'm going to be covering another book that is not as covered as much on BookTube as some other books, and that book is The Thicket by Joe R. Lansdale. Now, I'm a fan of Joe Lansdale. I've grown to be quite fond of his work over the past couple of years. I'm particularly fond of his Hap and Leonard series. I've only read 3 books so far. Two Bear Mambo is probably my favorite of his books. But I really like about Joe R. Lansdale is that he tends to combine heart, humor, but also with these really dark explorations of the more kind of messed up, twisted side of human nature. And it's always had an appeal to me, and it's always had an appeal for a lot of readers. Certainly, Lansdale is more of a cult figure than, say, someone like Stephen King. Given that I really enjoy Westerns, and I wanted to see how Lansdale would do in the Western genre, I decided to pick up The Thicket, and I ended up reading it. I was intrigued by the concept. It did sound a little bit like True Grit. If you've ever read that, if you're a fan of True Grit, you might like The Thicket. I like True Grit just fine, but I enjoyed The Thicket. I thought it was a very good book. Really, I think the best part of Joe Lansdale's work is that he can create these really strange and vivid characters that really come to life off the page, and he really has a talent for capturing small-town America, if you really want me to get down to it. He really likes to explore, I'll just call it hick culture to keep it simple. But all of the characters in his books, and as much as it is in The Thicket, just drip with personality and are really fun to read about. My favorite of the characters was Shorty, who, funnily enough, I imagined Peter Dinklage in the role, which, funnily enough, and they are making a movie of The Thicket right now, and what do you know? Peter Dinklage has been cast as Shorty, and I definitely think that he will do very well as the character of Shorty, because he definitely captures that personality and that ambiance, if that makes any sense to you all. But yeah, Shorty's probably my favorite character because, well, for some reason I'm just intrigued by smart-ass dwarfs, but if my love of Tyrion Lannister is to give you any suggestions. But I enjoy that he's a smart guy. He's definitely in a world where he's kind of surrounded by, hicks and bumpkins, and he's more curious. He likes astronomy. He likes to read a lot. He's very interested in science. But don't bring up his size, because, man, he's extremely dangerous when you put him on, when you put him under the gun. He does prove that he's a very dangerous and cunning enemy. This book is violent. This is not for the faint of heart. There are moments in this where you'll just be kind of shocked because you'll think, oh, this is kind of funny and quaint, and then, oh dear, because Lansdale does not hold back when it comes to violence. It's that way in the Hap and Leonard books, and it is no different in The Thicket. The Thicket is a violent, brutal, unflinching read, but at the same time, there's also a lot of heart and emotion in this story. And ultimately, like any great coming-of-age story, this book is often about growing up. Our main character, his name is Jack, he realizes that the world that he lives in is not as simple as he initially thought it was. But he eventually ends up finding a new way of living with a new type of family, a sort of ragtag group of misfits, if you will. And I'm a sucker for that trope of the ragtag group of misfits who go on an adventure together and they end up finding bonds. And it's certainly more vitriolic in this because they're often insulting each other, or Shorty's often making fun of Jack because Jack is just woefully unprepared for the intensity and violence that comes from the line of work that they're in. Shorty and his friend Eustace, he's a black man, and a gravedigger who also operates as a sort of tracker, though he's not very good at his job. But I really enjoy the dynamics of the group, though. Eustace and Shorty I'd probably say Eustace is Shorty's only friend, because Shorty really doesn't like anybody for that matter, maybe except for Eustace for that matter, because really much like Eustace, Shorty is kind of a outcast, if you will. But yeah, it's ultimately about these characters coming together, and I really enjoyed their personalities. Like I said, Shorty is probably my favorite because, I don't know, he's kind of like it's funny that Peter Dinklage got cast in the role for the movie because I would literally describe Shorty as a hick Tyrion Lannister who's a bounty hunter instead of a political player in the world of Westeros. Now, this is not to say that this book is perfect by any means. There are some problems I have with it. Mainly that it is a little too Lansdale, if that makes sense. It kind of has that... it kind of does put it in thick with putting in the like more heartfelt moments, which were good. No, don't get me wrong, but certainly, like this guy's talking about his life story all of a sudden, and I'm just here asking about when we're gonna get to the bounty job. And of course, the plot is certainly a familiar one. A boy's sister gets kidnapped, and he has to go look for her. And I'll just put it this way: it does go in the way that you would expect it to go. But as I said before, it's really the characters that make this book come to life and really make this an enjoyable read for me, and also just the weird hick humor that Joe R. Lansdale has, and he just gets it, like few others do, which makes sense. He's from East Texas after all. But indeed, The Thicket is a really enjoyable novel. There was some really good stuff that I really liked. There's not a lot to talk about because The Thicket is more of a straightforward story. You don't really have to, what's the word? You don't have to think too hard when reading this, though there are some thoughtful themes in there about, of course, violence and finding a new family and growing up. Of course, there's a lot of really messed up stuff in this. Like I said, there's a lot of violence. But again, I don't want to ramble on for too long. There's also a movie that's going to be coming out, I hear, that they got Peter Dinklage for. Again, I think he'll kill it as Shorty. We also have the kid who was in the Looking for Alaska adaptation. I haven't seen it, but I really enjoy Looking for Alaska, so maybe I'll check it out at some point. That's another novel I'd love to cover at some point. Good thing my aunt stole my copy. Anyway, I'm curious to see how this movie will go. I mean, Westerns are not as popular as they used to be, and, that makes me kind of sad, because, I love Westerns. But Joe R. Lansdale style, I mean, you could make a movie out of that. It even mentions here the Coen brothers on this blurb right here, if you could see. I mean, if this movie would work, like, I would get the Coen brothers, but Coen brothers seem to be doing their own thing at the moment, so it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. Plus, they already made a True Grit adaptation, and I highly doubt they'd want to repeat themselves. But if you like a Western, if you're a fan of, like, crime fiction, like I am, you'll really get a kick out of The Thicket. It's a really good novel. I would also recommend Hap and Leonard, both the books and the TV show with James Purefoy, and the sadly passed away, late, great Michael K. Williams. Omar himself plays Leonard. He's really good in it. But yeah, this is my first Lansdale review. I do want to cover more of Lansdale in the future. Hopefully I can cover Hap and Leonard. I would love to do that because those books are fantastic. But yeah, no, The Thicket is a really good book. I think you all should go check it out. There's not really much else for me to say, so yeah, that's the review. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You can go check out my Twitter, where I'm more unfiltered. You can check out my Goodreads and Letterboxd, which has my written reviews, which are probably more coherent than the one you just heard right now. And you can check me out on Discord if you want to come talk to me, if you want to come be a part of my community, if you will. But yeah, that's been The Thicket. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I've been Britton, some Okie Dude, and this is Jerry, my cat. Hello there. And we will see you guys later. Goodbye.